I wanted to make one more quick video on my hydrangeas. And as you can see, those are behind me right now. There was another YouTuber in his video that made me kind of realize by cutting these, you are definitely going to be removing buds. You're going to be removing buds that are going to be blooming for you in the new year. I've seen buds get created on this up until late September, mine, but you have to understand, for one thing, mine are like ancient. They're 25 years old as of the time I moved in here, but my mother's told me that they were probably here for several decades before then, so which would make them like half a century in age. But one thing I think it's important to point out is that once you have your hydrangeas reach maturity, you're gonna want to cut them back pretty hard I would say every 2-3 years. You could really do it they put on a foot or two of growth a year, I think. And so by cutting them back like that, once they get really big, it's gonna really help them to become more uniform in the way that they bloom in the future. By just leaving them and every year only just deadheading them, you're gonna start to notice, and it's why I did this. It's like why I cut mine back so hard, because those blooms were starting, like this whole summer, my blooming just kind of sucked. It was like they did bloom completely, but like the blooms were weighted down, for one thing. They were hanging off of it. There were spots of it that it wasn't blooming at all. It's gonna thank you, I think, a lot more in the long run. Like next year, these blooms that I have on here are gonna be really, really nice, and it's gonna be all over it. But yeah, by definitely cutting back them the way that I showed you in my video, you're gonna be removing blooms. But the thing is, because of you're removing whole stalks or whole shoots, it doesn't really matter when you do it. You're gonna be removing them no matter what. Even if you had waited or you'd done it right after they bloom, I mean, you're just gonna have to be willing to kind of let that go if you want it to continue growing well. So at some point you kind of have to start to respect the fact that you need to sacrifice some blooms. People talk about, when it comes to hydrangea, about never cutting after certain points, and you're sacrificing buds and all that. Well, sometimes that's the name of the game. You kind of have to do that with certain things. Hydrangea is definitely one of them, I think, in order to keep it healthy and keep it looking right. But this video is definitely geared more towards those who've had really overgrown hydrangeas, who are trying to cut them back pretty hard. Maybe who do have older hydrangeas, because I guess, yeah, definitely doing it by now. It's mid-August. You're definitely sacrificing a lot of those buds for the new year, which I was completely comfortable doing. You might not be, and if that's the case, I'd just deadhead them when they're done blooming. But my opinion is to if they're overgrown and older and looking crazy, then you need to cut them back pretty hard. They're gonna grow. Those new shoots are gonna grow out again and produce buds at some point. So anyway, that's all.